Hey, what is up guys, I'm KBHD here, and I've showed you what's on my phone like enough times now. You've already seen it. This new series is dedicated to touring other creative people's hubs and looking at the tech behind how they do what they do. So this is episode 1 with Casey Neistat and his hyperfunctional studio. So through the vlogs and various Casey videos, we've seen pretty much every conceivable angle of his studio, and it can look like a mess, like chaos actually. There's a lot of surface area covered, there's stuff everywhere. It doesn't fit the traditional visual of a neat or organized space, but it is. It really is. It's one of the most neat and organized spaces, even surprisingly so. So let's walk through each of these sections with Casey.
This area behind me, this is like my tool workshop construction area, and the reason why I have that is literally to maintain the rest of the studio. Everything in here is always breaking, everything in here needs to be built or rebuilt, so it's nice having my little tool shop back there to do all that.
For those of you who have seen Casey's videos, which is probably most of you, you know that a lot of what he does involves literally building stuff, like putting together new things that are purpose-built for exact situations or tasks, and then once they're built, he can keep them around or use them again if it comes up. But this little tool area, little corner here, is where you'll find the supplies to make that stuff. All of this is exemplified by build over buy. If you can't buy exactly what you need, build it.
This is the overhead shooting rig, so camera mounted here, shooting straight down. I can see the image here on the screen. It makes it really easy for animations, but this table is just like old busted up plywood, and then this is plumbing pipe, because to buy one of these, like a professional one's super expensive, but like this does all the pro stuff, like it telescopes up and down, this moves back and forth, so yeah, it's a homemade overhead shooting rig.
So build over buy again. I'm personally a huge fan of overhead shots, obviously, but there's no denying it can take a lot of effort to set them up just right and get them looking the way you want every time. Unless, of course, you build a permanent rig to look exactly the way you want every time. And this rig is a lot more nuanced than you might think. There's a 2x4 with a Manfrotto base plate screwed into it, so he can clip any camera with a Manfrotto plate to it pretty quick. And there's an HDMI monitor on the other side with a right angle cable that goes directly into the camera, plus a remote trigger, so he doesn't have to reach around and press the record button on whatever camera he's using. There's a measuring tape on the side of the 2x4 to nail focus distance every time. There's a roll of white paper for instant white background, a roll of black paper for instant black background. There's an iPad on an arm for keeping a shot list or anything else really. And these 4 light bulbs in these circular diffusers make this super soft, shadowless light coming down onto the table. They're video lights, basically.
The majority of my videos are shot on like portable cameras, little cameras like this. But I keep this big guy permanently set up here in the office for like the formal talking to camera footage. This entire apparatus is built to make it as easy as possible for me to film myself, because I typically don't have someone here to help me operate the camera.
So this big rig is actually another of the same camera. It's a Sony a7R Mark II, a 4K mirrorless camera that I've actually used in the past, but of course it has a couple of video making accessories. So the camera is in a cage made by Tilta that basically adds a bunch of 1/4-20 screw holes, a top handle, and a pair of rails to the front of the camera. So the rails on the front would be for something like a motorized follow focus to attach to the lens, but Casey doesn't use that, he uses autofocus. So instead he uses the mounting holes in the cage for adding things like a monitor arm and a shotgun microphone for better audio. And then this whole cage and rails mounts to the tripod directly, so he can just move that around the studio. This setup plus a single video light is pretty clutch.
This is my desk. This is where I work all day, every day. I used to work in the back. I like sitting back there better, but the natural light on my face makes it easier for me to shoot videos sitting at this desk. This is like the laptop station where I do the majority of my editing and whatnot. And then this is where I wanted to do my editing, but this computer is just too slow to edit on, so I just use all of this for data management. 20 terabytes, 20 terabytes, 24 terabytes, and then this is 60 terabytes. I never delete any footage.
So the computer Casey actually edits on right now is the 2016 MacBook Pro 15-inch with Touch Bar. Despite all its troubles and all its dongles, it's the most up-to-date machine Apple makes right now, and he and I are Final Cut editors, so that's the choice. And then the never deleting footage part, as scary as it sounds, is actually true. And I suspect this storage collection will be growing pretty soon. But for now, I count about 150 terabytes of storage just at the desk. And the monitor setup is all very specific as well. So from top to bottom, it's inside video surveillance, then hallway surveillance, outside studio surveillance from a GoPro that's hanging out the window, more outside studio surveillance, just in case, next door office surveillance, and another angle down the hallway. And then the bottom one, an ultra wide, is the only one actually hooked up to the Mac Pro, running a screensaver that just plays The Godfather 1 and The Godfather 2 over and over on repeat. So that's where he spends a lot of his time, and that's where you could say the magic happens. And then around the corner is a little nook around the back of the studio, which sports a vertical TV connected to a vertical GoPro that's always on.
This area, not so functional. These are my dead drones. These have died for various reasons, like this one says here, crashed into Central Park Pond. These things happen. This is a charging central for all of my point and shoot cameras. And the idea with this is at a glance to be able to see that everything's charging and ready to go. A little secret about this though is that most of these cameras I don't use anymore, so this is actually about to be broken down and this wall is gonna be repurposed. It's such a beautiful picture though, I've been reluctant to actually take them off the wall. This area back here, this used to just be where I kept all of my gear, but it felt really underutilized and I needed a chill spot in the studio. So I put this couch in and this became like the gaming station. One thing that's super cool, underneath this couch, we cut a big hole and put the subwoofer there. So when you're playing Call of Duty, like the machine gun and the sound, it literally shakes your ass because the bass is so strong. Okay, now I think this is a 65-inch TV. It was the cheapest TV I could get off of Amazon. Looks fine though. PlayStation's mounted to the wall. I don't like anything on the floor right here. And then up top here are my surveillance monitors. Behind me is like all of the gear, all the camera equipment that I use for making videos. Almost all of this is active. And the idea with the layout is to have it so I can grab and go as quickly as possible. This is the active drone area. This is the Phantom 4 Pro, Phantom 4 Regular. This is the Karma, Mavic, battery charging station, propellers. These are my cameras. These are the cameras that all work. They're fully operational. Batteries are charged, ready to go. Even these older ones I still keep at the ready just because I have them. GoPro setup over here, SLRs, point and shoots, lenses. A little known secret of my studio here is that I really take advantage of the space under the floor. So this trapdoor here, this is like bounce boards, lighting equipment, C-stands, and some more like weirdo esoteric gear like body mounts and stuff. I don't use it often, so I keep it under the floor.
So the Casey Neistat studio is low-key kind of a masterpiece. It's a tightly woven collection of technology and video tools and construction tools that make it possible and maybe the most functional use of the square footage imaginable. And it all comes back to two main things: build over buy and being a lot more organized than it actually looks. It's not traditional. And even just being there for the first time and me looking around as a video person and as a tech head and a bit of a perfectionist sometimes myself, you notice a couple things. Number one, pretty much everything is labeled, like meticulously. Did you notice that? Like boxes of things, categories of gear, supplies, tools, equipment, tech stuff. It's all literally hand labeled, so ideally you can find exactly what you need in seconds. And then number two, almost every wire, instead of being invisible or shoved behind a desk like we typically do it, it's strung out and visible and pinned up against the wall, so you can trace everything to where it's plugged in. It's a different type of organization than maybe we're used to in a normal super clean studio. And then number three, the studio is exceptionally well lit. I mean, it is a video studio after all, but everywhere you look, there's lights. Ceiling lights, dome lights, diffuse lights, accent lights, all things to brighten the space, to give it a consistent, even look, and to give a subtle blown out bokeh when you're shooting video, and to make it feel even bigger than it actually is. Everything is well lit. All of them have purpose and place, and it seems like every square inch of the space, every surface is used for something. And that's what you can do when you've been in a space for a decade. So that's been it. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you now have a better appreciation of the space you've probably seen in so many videos. So thanks to Casey for the walkthrough. Definitely subscribe to his channel for more awesome videos all the time, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.